INFJs may seem composed and maybe even boring from the outside, but the truth is, this rare personality type is far from being ordinary. With a natural essence for complexity and understanding, not only does the INFJ have a difficult time fitting in, but they actually prefer to live a life avoiding indifference, focusing on the more extraordinary things life has to offer. Welcome, or welcome back, Psychos! Today, we're going to be discussing why the INFJ just can't settle for a mediocre life. But before we get into it, we'd love it if you liked and subscribed to our channel, as well as to click the post notification bell so you never miss a video. Okay, let's jump right into it, starting with number 1. They know their worth. Let's just start by saying that we can't speak for every INFJ here, but for the most part, this introspective type knows what they have to bring to the table. Even the most insecure INFJ innately knows that they have positive qualities and morals that some people lack or refuse to utilize. And so, when it comes to making decisions in life, they take into account how the situation will benefit them in comparison to how they will benefit the situation. If these two opposing aspects don't line up, you can guarantee that the INFJ will begin looking elsewhere. The best example would be in a relationship or workplace setting. This independent type won't settle for something that doesn't fit their anticipated narrative because they know their unique qualities will be appreciated elsewhere. Number 2. They don't want to waste time. It's not always easy gauging whether or not something is indifferent or ordinary, but leaving a situation once that's realized can be seriously challenging to do, especially for the INFJ, who prefers to keep the peace wherever they go. Cutting ties in hopes of finding something less average comes with a host of uncomfortable feelings and second-guessing. Luckily, INFJs often remind themselves that life is too short to waste their precious time and energy on anything that doesn't serve their highest good, and this serves as the basis to find something better. They believe that if they're stuck doing something that feels dull and unfulfilling for long enough, they will be missing out on the opportunities that could potentially better align with who they are. And so, most of the time, INFJs much prefer being on standby, researching new opportunities than feeling captive in that stale energy. Number 3. They hold seriously high expectations of themselves. They say we're our own biggest critics, and nothing could be more true when talking about the INFJ personality type. By constantly thinking, planning, and analyzing their next moves, they set the bar extremely high and then do all they can to achieve it. They go into new endeavors with an all-or-nothing attitude that doesn't allow for half-hearted input or corner-cutting. Not only is this attitude rooted in their perfectionism, but they genuinely want the best for themselves and are willing to put in the work to get it. Of course, these high expectations can backfire should they fail to reach them in the way they initially expected. But, for the most part, these expectations act as the ultimate motivation to ditch mediocrity and strive for something greater. Number 4. They see far past societal expectations. Let's just say the life that is bestowed upon us by society's expectations is rather mediocre. Where's the adventure and zest in spending the majority of your waking hours working on someone else's clock? Where's the growth in staying in one place for too long? These are all questions that haunt the INFJ and fuel their drive of marching to the beat of their own drum in all aspects of life. Most INFJs see past the facade of the American dream, exchanging it for a life that is more realistically fulfilling. They don't rely on the happiness they're supposed to feel when following mainstream standards because they've seen it fail one too many times when observing other people. For example, INFJs don't feel obligated to rush into the highest-paying career choice or the seemingly ideal relationship because they know there's always more to it than what they see on the outside. So, Unless they have a genuine interest or intuitive hunch, there's no convincing an INFJ that it's worth their while. Which brings us to our next point, number 5. They're innately guided by intuition. For the most part, INFJs wouldn't be able to settle for a happy, mediocre life if they tried. Of course, there are INFJs that are in fact living a rather mundane lifestyle, but the question of whether or not they're actually happy is the key. In fact, when an INFJ ignores their intuitive pull towards a certain decision, soon enough they'll begin to wonder why they feel so depressed, unfulfilled, and dull in life. Now, we're not saying that the opposite of mediocrity is this big, extravagant lifestyle, rather, one that fits their morals and need for creativity. A life that's lived on their own terms. And this is the exact life that the INFJ's dominant introverted intuitive function attempts to guide them in. It's like the inner compass or higher power that knows what's best for the INFJ by taking into account previous lessons, likes and dislikes, formed opinions and preferences of the people they surround themselves with. Sure, they may not have to follow it, but if they don't, it's much more difficult for them to feel like they're on the right path in life. Number 6, they have a different view of what mediocrity is. Like we said, it's not as if every INFJ lives this epically bold life filled with constant adventure and change, but that's not what they're always striving for. In fact, to most people with the INFJ personality type, mediocrity is simply living life with little say as to how they want to live it. It's living life on someone else's terms or through someone else's expectations of what a fulfilling life really means. In the grand scheme of things, what one person considers mediocre may be the complete opposite of how another person interprets it. So, while staying in on weekends to research and explore their deepest life questions may seem like absolute snoozeville to some personality types, the thought of spending that time mindlessly shopping or partying can seem rather repetitive and uninteresting to others. One of those others being the INFJ themselves. Number 7, their minds need to be stimulated. Repetitive schedules may seem safe to an INFJ, but if stagnancy goes on for long enough, they'll find themselves craving new learning material and mental stimulation. With their unique combination of intuition, feeling, thinking, and judging, INFJs require new things to observe, analyze, and understand in order for their functions to work in harmony. If they're stuck solely in their own thoughts, day in and day out, due to a rather predictable lifestyle, they can begin nitpicking about the things that they've already concluded in their minds. For example, if an INFJ is stuck in a repetitive career position that requires no new skills, learning, or use of creativity, they will eventually begin to dive deeper in the tasks they already do. They can begin wondering, what's the point of it all? Or spend their time trying to think of better or different ways of doing things, when, in reality, the simple task doesn't require any thought. Yet, when they have new material to examine, these natural instincts and thought processes benefit them as they're supposed to. Number 8, they want to serve as an example. While it's not overly intentional, INFJs like to practice what they preach. And since they're so attuned to noticing the potential in others and encouraging them to push themselves to greatness, INFJs use that same processing when self-reflecting. They don't want to view themselves as average because then it's as if their advice is less meaningful or genuine to others they try to help. And like we said, it's not like they intend to seem better in order for people to listen to them, but they genuinely want to utilize their own advice by following their passions, strengths, and values to live the life they know they deserve. Yet, along the way, they don't mind being that glimmer of hope to the people in their lives, demonstrating that you don't need to be perfect by any means in order to live the life you envision for yourself. All right, that's it for today, Psychos. Before you go, let us know in the comments below if you would consider your life mediocre and what mediocrity really means in your opinion as an INFJ. Also, make sure to leave us a like, share with your friends, and also subscribe to our channel so that you never miss a video.